All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another coaster report. This one has been a long time coming. We're finally getting around to it. The Columbus Zoo and Aquarium in Powell, Ohio. So if you know, I live in Columbus, and we actually go to the zoo quite a bit. It's not too far from our house. We get passes the last 4 or 5 years, something like that. We've been going a lot. So you might be wondering, why is there a coaster report about the zoo? Well, it turns out there is an amusement park attached to the zoo, part of the zoo. They've also got a water park as well. And the history of it's not like super interesting, but the amusement park actually came first. Started as a picnic park back in the late 1800s, as a lot of ones do. And the zoo started a few decades later next door. The theme park was bought by Premier, aka Six Flags, in I think the 80s or 90s. And then the zoo bought it after Six Flags decided to sell all their stuff in the 2000s. So now you can go to the water park there. It's apparently a pretty nice water park. I've never been myself because I'm not a water park guy. And then there are a bunch of amusement rides attached to the zoo, part of the zoo. And they've got some coasters there. So pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, I always skip the background slide because I forget how these go. So like I said, we've been going for many, many years, and I've only finally just this year managed to get over to the amusement side and ride some rides. So without further ado, they've got Ohio's current oldest coaster, Sea Dragon, a PTC wooden coaster from 1956. I rode this one last month when we went, and I'll never remember my formula now. I don't do this often enough to be consistently good at it. But anyway, so Sea Dragon, it's a very old wooden coaster. Well, very old by Ohio standards. It's very similar to a lot of the kiddie family scale wooden coasters you get at Cedar Fair parks, the Woodstock Expresses, and that kind of thing. Simple figure 8 layout, so not super thrilling, not super exciting, but for a family scale coaster, it does what it needs to do. Not a lot of airtime on this one, unfortunately, but I do really like the old schoolness of it. They still operate with the giant hand levers in the floor for braking. It's all manual operated, which is pretty cool to watch them do that. He's got these gigantic wooden levers sticking on the floor that they manually pull the brakes when the coaster comes in the station. So that's always neat. It's still an Ace Coaster landmark, I believe. And like it's all right. I don't think it has seatbelts, but even so, like, you still don't get a lot of airtime. It doesn't go very fast. It's not very tall. It looks kind of big in the photo, but it really isn't when you're on it. So it's fun though. It was worth a second ride, and that's all I got to say about it. It was all right. So going from their oldest coaster to a very new coaster, Tidal Twist. Bacon asked, this is the exact same layout as Teddy Bear? Probably. It's a very simple out and back figure 8. So there's a lot of coasters that are shaped just like this. Like I said earlier, like the Woodstock Express at Kings Island and Kings Dominion, they're all very, very similar. You're going to find a lot of old wooden coasters that have this exact same layout. Anyway, so we also have Tidal Twist, a coaster that they just built in 2021. Replaced the log flume that used to be here, rest in peace. This is a Zamperla spinning wild mouse, and if you've heard me talk about wild mouses before, I'm not really a big fan in general. The one at Kinney one I thought was pretty good, but other than that, the ones I've been on have been pretty disappointing, and this one is among those, I guess. I'll say this about it. It is better than the ones at Dorney and Hershey because this one is not uncomfortable. It doesn't throw you around as much, which I did not like. Those were painful. This one is not, because it's just very slow. I don't know how easy it is to tell from these pictures, but the dips and drops are very shallow, not doing a whole lot. And when it starts spinning about halfway through the ride, it doesn't even spin very much. Granted, I was in a car by myself. You'd think it would have been a little bit unbalanced and it would have done a lot of spinning, but Not really. So, kind of mid. But you know, it is what it is. I didn't really expect a whole lot out of it, and that's what I got. So at least it's not painful. And I will say so we've been going a few times this year and last year, and I've been keeping my eye out on the coasters to find a good opportunities to ride them. This one, I only rode this past Sunday, and that's because we went in July and I got my rides on Sea Dragon. This was closed all day. This thing is closed all the time. At least that's what it feels like. Maybe I'm just unlucky. But it feels like the reliability on this thing is pretty bad, despite only being 2 years old. For some reason, they just can't keep it running. I don't know why. But even then, it's just fine. It's a wild mouse. That's all it is. You know what you're getting into. So those are the 2 coasters that they have at the zoo, and they've also got a bunch of other flat, spinny rides and such. Was August 10th? I thought I had it in my record keeping as end of July, but maybe I'm misremembering. No, yeah, I think you're right. Well, anyway, doesn't matter. It was all very recent. Anyway, so they also got a bunch of other flat carnival style rides. They've got swinging ship, merry-go-round, all that good stuff. And I didn't ride any of them except for Safari Stampede, which is their Matterhorn style ride. And the only reason I rode this was because we were getting ready to go, and I was like, might as well get one more ride in while I can on something, just to make the wristband that I purchased worth it. One thing I didn't mention is that all these rides it's pay to ride. So you got to pay to enter the zoo first, then you got to pay more to ride the rides. And each one you can either buy individual tickets for the rides, or you can get a wristband to get on everything all day. When I rode Sea Dragon, I got a wristband, and Tidal Twist was closed, so I was like, I gotta try to make my money's worth out of this thing. So I did a couple rides on Sea Dragon, and then we were leaving. I was like, maybe I can get one more ride while we go. So Safari Stampede was just stopping, letting people off, so I hopped on. And it's a Matterhorn, like if you've been on one of these before, you kind of know what you're getting into, except with the little twist that there is a forward cycle and a backward cycle, which I did not expect. And it was actually pretty fun. This might have been more exciting than Sea Dragon for that reason alone. Normally I don't really care much about this kind of ride. It's just you spin in a circle. But stopping and going backwards halfway through, and it goes pretty fast too. That was kind of cool. That was a neat little experience. So yeah. But those are the 3 rides I have to talk about. That's it for the zoo. Like I said, they've got a bunch of other rides. I didn't bother going to any of them because they're all pretty generic carnival rides. But I just wanted to get a little report for the coasters, since I did finally get to ride them this month. So that was fun. Not a park for enthusiasts. I hope that was obvious for me saying it. It's a zoo that happens to have rides. So unless you are living close by, if you're in Ohio, it's probably no more than 2 hours away from where you are. Still not worth it for just those 2 credits, because unless you're really hunting for new roller coasters, they're just not terribly exciting. And all the other rides they have, while well themed, are the ride experiences themselves pretty generic. So, and like I said, you got to pay to go to the zoo, and you got to pay to ride the rides. So value for your dollar, probably not very good either. That being said, it's a nice zoo. One of the best zoos in the country. I think it's won some sorts of zoo awards. I don't really know. It's got its own TV show on Disney, which is pretty cool too. Also a very good show. I don't know if they're still making it anymore. I don't think they are. But I recommend looking up Secrets of the Zoo. It's a pretty good time. And if you're in the area and you like zoos, definitely check out that. That is worth your money. And if you happen to ride the rides, then, it's a bonus. So yeah. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, I'm not paying that much to go and see it. And I will say, The ride tickets are only like $2. I know it was $2 to go on Tidal Twist, because that's I paid I gave him $2 cash and rode Tidal Twist. So if you only want to do one ride on a coaster and you're getting in the zoo for cheap, then maybe that's worth it. But other than that, yeah. So that's all I got to say about the zoo. Like I said, it's a great zoo, not necessarily a great amusement park, but I finally got there. So there's your report.